Welcome everyone to office hours for TradersPost on this lovely day, May 10th of 2024, year of our Lord. We know what day this is. We are 5 days away from my wife's birthday, where I have to figure out what to get for her. So that's what the stream is all about. No, folks, we're here to talk about TradersPost and making the platform as best as possible for you and for us so that we can get the best strategies out there, the best algorithmic trading strategies. I'm here
Hey,
today,
Tom,
as always, with Mike Christensen. Sorry, go ahead.
don't forget about Mother's Day.
Oh my God, it's Mother's Day. Oh, right.
Do you guys celebrate that in Canada?
We do. I forget to, but I find out later on from my mom that I don't care about her,
That you
which is
forgot.
just fair.
Is it the same day in Canada as the US? Yeah.
May 12th? Is
Right.
it weekend? Yeah. Okay. Yep. Sunday.
So we're here with CSO Mike Christensen, as well as Cam, who works for our support team. Which very happy for us to grace us with your presence because it's been an oversight. Q&A for support for Traders Post, and we haven't had you on. That's an oversight on my part that I wanted to rectify. So thank you very much, Cam, for giving us your time.
Yeah, not a problem. It's just been a case of helping users out if they've got any errors or onboarding new customers. Some people are in trading groups and they want to be onboarded. So yeah, it's just about helping everyone get set up smoothly and without any issues.
You mind if I ask, how long have you been doing support for Traders Post?
For just over a year now, I think it is, maybe like 14 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And are you a trader yourself? I mean, you don't have to be part of the team, but do you?
Yeah, so I've been mainly through crypto. So I've been in crypto since like 2016 and then got the bug and yeah, still trading now.
Excellent. All right. So I'm glad. How does it feel to be in the mix constantly to see how people are thinking about trading? Does it make you a better trader to see how people
I
are
wouldn't
tackling it?
I wouldn't say that, but it's interesting to see people go through the whole new stage again that we went through so many times before, where they like to set up strategies on the 1 second time frame, thinking that it's going to cure all their problems, and it just causes more problems.
Right. Yeah, can you ever imagine going back to a time where you never thinking about markets again?
No, I must check it like too many times a day. So yeah.
Yeah, that to me would feel like not watching the news anymore. So
Exactly, yeah.
perfect. So that's great. We wanted to obviously, as always, every Friday we go over your questions that you've posted in Discord or support tickets or message us online to see how we can help you learn to use the platform better. This week we have a good crop of questions, but before we start off with that, I did want to bring up a page we've updated on our documentation, which is about example strategies. This is something that people have been asking for little by little. Forgive me, let me just pull this up here. I know, Mike, it's been a special project for you. You really want to make sure that we have a growing list of strategies, of recipes, of ways to connect Traders Post with common things that people are using, common indicators, common strategies. What's your vision for this sort of thing, for the
Yeah.
recipes?
We get a lot of requests in support about really just constructing the correct JSON payloads, constructing the correct
Sorry, did
trade.
I cut out there?
No, we got you. Am
Sounds
I
good with me.
on mute?
No, I can hear everyone loud and clear.
Okay. We get a lot of support requests around just how to construct the trades and how to set up the strategies. Sometimes there are custom requests in PineScript. Sometimes people want to send a price through the alert. So there's just a lot of different ways in which you can set up your buy and sell signals. You can do how you can do cross instrument strategies. I can trade. So Tom's having trouble hearing everyone here, so little technical difficulty. We'll wait for him to. Maybe you might need to restart there, Tom. Cross instrument strategies are fairly common, where people want to take the SPY or Tesla symbol and translate that into an options trade. So we're just trying to put together as many examples as we can that cover the basis on what are common requests, so that you have a lot to chew on and learn from. And in doing that, of course, we'd love to add to the library of, tried and true methods for trading the markets, for setting up automated strategies. And, most of the strategies that are out there kind of fit into two camps. It's either mean reverting strategies or trend following strategies. And there are some very basic setups that work really well on higher timeframes for both of those domains. So the objective or long-term vision for our example library is really just to try to give you a sense of how trades are constructed, how it will be executed on TradersPost, and then of course the different domains of automated strategies that exist out there.
Some users as well, they like to see the example strategies. They might be changing from other strategies, for example, or quite simply, they might not have found one to use. They might want to get into the world of automation, but we have a few users on support who would then ask, what strategy should I use? And obviously we can't give any recommendations, but we can say you can take some inspiration from these example strategies and make them into your own.
It's always funny. I always think to myself, okay, I can't tell people what strategies to use, but it seems pretty safe. I could tell people what strategies not to use. So I would tell my clients that, and then the other day I told my client something like that, and then the strategy ended up like if he had done what he wanted to do, he would have made a boatload of money. And then I'm like, maybe I should just stay out of telling people at all what they should buy and sell, because the market likes to make me look foolish even when I'm not participating.
Yeah, I think that exact point there is largely why we're not really in the business of trying to recommend, which strategy you should use. We encourage you to use your own intellectual capacity, your own creativity. You may surprise everyone. We say quite a bit here at TradersPost that scalping strategies on the 5-second chart are very unlikely to work. And we say that because we've never seen anything like it work. You're almost always eaten up by slippage and commission or the delay in the signal. And by the time that the trade could have scalped out 5 or 10 ticks, it's already gone by the time you need to execute the trade. That said, somebody may have a creative way of structuring a strategy on the 5-second chart that we hadn't thought of before, like some kind of a spread bet or an arbitrage play that actually does work pretty well, even when there's a delay. So we want to set TradersPost up in a way that allows you to experiment in any way that you'd like. And if you happen to catch a wave of trades in a strategy that works for you, then we're all for it.
Excellent. Well, to that end, Cameron, I'd love to find out if there's any common issues that you find that retail traders have when they're trying to automate their trades, especially with TradersPost. Are there any recurrent themes or recurrent problems that keep coming up?
Yeah, so there's common problems and there's also common requests. And one of the common feature requests is that we have a feature that automatically closes a user's positions at a certain time of the day. And that way, they don't have to manually exit the positions because of margin requirements or anything like that. It will all happen automatically. So obviously that's one that we probably get about 4 or 5 times a month that users would like. Now, this can be done, Mike can correct me on this, but this can be done on a TradingView side. And then, so the user has to send that over to us, and then we can automate it through that way. So, it has to be done on their end for now until we manage to get a feature that can solve this problem for them.
Yeah, that's certainly a really good request. We've been trying to respond to those types of requests as quickly as possible among all the other things that we're working on the dev side. We recently integrated a time window feature where you can set a start and a stop time throughout the day in which trades can be accepted or rejected. That came from your feedback as customers. We're hearing a lot of requests around end of day closing or time bound closes. Even like open at market open or open the position at the close of the session. So those types of features are definitely things we're considering and we'll throw on the roadmap.
Always a thing to keep in mind is that, and programmers, we know this, sometimes a feature seems simple in theory, and then you implement it and you realize, oh, there's 5 different things that this needs to touch to, and then there are outlier cases where someone says, "Oh my God, this is exactly the opposite of what I ever wanted. Like, please do not ever implement this in this way." And so I know I ran into that with even implementing a close position at the end of a session when I do that in PineScript. And you think to yourself, oh, it's easy. Just at the bar close at 4 o'clock and send a signal to close. And then you're like, well, no, by the time the signal gets over there, it doesn't actually close any position. And then you think to yourself, okay, well, I'll just go 1 bar back and then that'll be fine. And then you have to figure to yourself, well, what if the strategy has another buy signal that happens at the beginning of the next bar, and then that trade might have opened. And you go, okay, no, that's not a problem. And as you unwind the whole thing, it turns out, well, it's actually a bigger problem than just a checkbox to add to an interface. So I get it. I know what there's certain the features that we're rolling out. Clearly, I see from the development team from Mike and John as well, is that they know what everyone wants. They know the level of difficulty and that it takes to roll out these features, and they seem to never sleep. It seems to be like constantly 24 hours a day, always messages about these are new features that are being worked on, and we're excited to release those. And so I get it. I get that people want those features, and Cam is here in order to address that. But rest assured that anything that we can do and that's reasonable to do, we will. Cam, is there anything else that you've seen?
Yeah, so a common error that you seem to get as well is that sometimes people send too many signals too close together. They'll try and send, let's say, 10 signals within 10 seconds, even, a few signals at the same time. And this can cause a lot of issues because you're relying on a lot of factors, one of them being trading view, which, at the best of times, you can't really rely on too much, because they can have delays for sometimes even up to 30 seconds. So if you're sending signals, within 5 seconds of each other, and TradingView's got a delay on one of the signals by 30 seconds, then it just kind of messes with the strategy. So yeah, we always advise users to send signals a few minutes apart to avoid these issues. And that's why we always say high time frame strategies, they are more reliable because you don't get all these errors. I looked at a user's account the other day who actually had rate limits on his account because he was sending too many signals to the alpaca broker. So yeah, it's one of them that you've got to try and avoid because there's too many issues that can arise from it.
This is one of those other programming issues where actually there's no platform that I know of that even theoretically can ever avoid this problem. I had a client once who said they couldn't stand this inconsistency necessarily for the alerts, and they were trying to trade on a shorter time frame, and so they hired me in order to build out a custom thing that works directly with the broker. Right. And I thought to myself, well, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. I connect directly with the broker. We're not going to have any of the delays. And then I get a real good appreciation for all the work that's required for TradersPost to connect to these brokers, because it turns out it's not so simple to just be like, oh, well, I don't need, connections to 8 different brokers. Let me just go with interactive brokers or what have you, build it on there, and everything will be hunky-dory. Not so. And I came back to TradersPost, tail between my legs, telling my client, how about we just deal with the alert issue over here and and figure that out, because it's a lot harder the other way.
It does feel very much like a phase of like everyone's automated journeys, that everyone starts off on the lower time frames and then realize the issues and errors that can occur, and then they gradually just go like higher and higher, it seems. Like I've tried like 5-minute time frames and everything like that, and it's one of them that you park the bus at, after a while, and then you just go to your 2-hour time frame and it just works so much smoother.
That's right. Mike, you introduced me to the 2-hour. I mean, I don't think I ever pressed 2 hours on my chart. And then as you were walking through different trades, I'm like, why on earth am I trading the 1-minute chart? Like, this is just, I'm just opening myself up to all this volatility and inconsistency. And now to me, it's like, I can't do 2 hours. I need a little more fun than that. I do 15 minutes or 1 hour, but it's completely changed the consistency of my trades. Because even as far as, even aside from the signals, there's more room to be right than to have to be right so many times in a row, because it's so easy to be wrong so many times in a row on the lower time frame, and then you just eat out on commissions, on slippage, and the whole thing.
Yeah,
sense.
I think the other advantage with the higher time frames, 2 hour, 4 hour, one day, is that you're capturing the average true range a little bit better, right? You're instead of capturing 14 bars of 5 minute information, which isn't a very good slice of the overall volatility over multiple days, you're capturing 14 days of information, or at least 4 or 5 days of information on the 2 hour chart. That gives you a better sense of where volatility really is showing up. And if you're developing stop losses and take profits around those true ranges or rolling true ranges, you're less likely to get stopped out too early or take profits too early. You can capture more of the trend that way.
That's right. Forever I've heard the trend is your friend, and I don't know, some of these axioms you don't realize they're true until you lose a bunch of money, and then you're like, oh wait, I should have. Because you go, oh, if I go against the trend, I'm going to make the most amount of money because I'm going to be right at the end, right at the top or the bottom. I'm going to ride it down the other side. Oh yeah, you're going to guess when the trend is automatically gonna stop. Good luck with that. All right.
It's hard to capture. Yeah, reversals are tough.
All right, perfect. Anything else, Cam?
There was just one more, which was just some users typically will send the sentiment incorrectly, because we have sentiment as a feature on TradersPost where you can, have sentiment as bullish or bearish. And sometimes they will put it into their strategy so it auto fills, and their strategy will send it incorrectly. So they'll come to support and say, how come this signal didn't work? And it's a buy signal, but the sentiment is flat. And obviously, if you have a sentiment flat, then it will only ever exit the position. You can't open a new position with sentiment flat. So they want to go long and nothing's happening. So obviously they're freaking out because they're thinking, well, what's going on? And it's just that their system is automatically sending, the sentiment in an incorrect way. So I do advise users to have a think about whether they even need to use the line of code, a sentiment, because some users do, but some users I don't think need to, and it just causes problems sometimes.
Yeah, it's fair to point out that the sentiment property was only created to support TradingView strategies. It's so that we could line up the properties that come through in the strategy payload from TradingView specifically. But it's not actually a necessary property for you to execute trades properly with us. You just need the action property more than the sentiment property. The action will allow you to decide if I'm buying or selling or flattening my position or adding to my position. That's the property to focus on.
Excellent. Yeah, I guess I'm so TradingView centric. I didn't actually realize that. Yeah, you're right. All right. Well, that's perfect. Cam, it's so nice. I'm sure for some people to see the person behind the messages. You're always so kind-hearted and patient with everybody, and it's really appreciated. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Great to speak to you both.
Excellent.
Likewise, Cam.
All right. So staying along the lines of the JSON payload, I just wanted to mention this. We did mention this I guess a couple of months ago, but it bears repeating. Someone asked, would it be possible to add a message in the JSON webhook that would be used to note the TradingView alert in TradersPost logs? So yes, you can actually add any properties that you want inside of the JSON payload. And that way it'll show up later on. I do that for myself where I add like a bar index or the name of the strategy or anything like that, which can be very useful not only to pair up the trades, but also if you wanted to perform some sort of separation between the signals that are there. Mike, are there any types of like messages being sent along with the payload that you've seen or that you've used that you think is an interesting use case?
Yeah, sometimes people will send along plots, individual plot variables from their strategies so that they can keep track of what properties existed at the time of the alert. So if they wrote something in PineScript that has multiple indicators or multiple properties associated with it, you can construct an alert from PineScript that allows you to gather the plot variables as well. So plot _0, plot _1, plot _2. As you make your way down the list of PineScript variables that you've plotted, you can actually send those to the alert. And then once it's sent to the alert, it can get passed along to TradersPost as well. And so it's helpful to debug your trades, to kind of look at what properties were there. But one of the common use cases for sending along a custom property is to compare the time at which the alert occurred from TradingView to the time that it was actually executed. So what
Right.
you can do is send the time property along with the time variable from TradingView, and that will tell you when the event triggered, and then you can compare that to the broker to get a sense of how long that lag is in general between the alert time and the actual trade execution time. Most people will find it's about a 2-second delay, 1 to 2 second delay, if not shorter than that. If there's any increase in that, it's worth paying attention to, because it could be a delay with the broker or it could be a delay on TradingView.
If a trade fails in the planning phase, is the log of the JSON payload still there? I can't remember offhand.
Yeah, for sure. We always, the webhook log always includes the payload that was requested, and then you can sort of trace what happens after that.
I remember that being useful to me when I was trying to. I'm initially setting up my strategy to make sure everything is working the way it needs to. I was sending messages that wasn't designed to execute a trade. I just wanted to make sure that everything was passing through correctly, but still connected to a live account, but without actually trading live. So that, because sometimes I feel like, I mean, that's not true for TradersPost, but whenever I'm dealing with anything that's like a paper trading thing, I always wonder to myself, well, will this actually work when it's on the live account? So I really like that option. Perfect. And along the same lines for that, someone was asking on Discord, can you perform calculations within the JSON message? So if you wanted to do some sort of like offset off the price or something like that, can you do that?
Unfortunately, no. You have to send what amounts to a static message, in meaning that we can't do dynamic calculations with the data that you're sending over. I should probably correct that statement. It's not that we can't do it; we just don't currently support it. There's probably some opportunity for us to do, price calculations. You could send along a price along with a formula of some kind, and maybe we could execute that. But it would have to be very simple. In general, we don't want to apply a whole lot of calculations before we translate that request over to an order with your broker. The more that we're calculating things before it heads over, the slower it's going to take for us to actually execute that order on your behalf. So the more you can calculate these things in PineScript prior to sending the JSON payload, I think is the best approach. More often than not, I think a lot of these calculations live in memory in TradingView or in PineScript prior to the alert. So adding one more step is just, kind of a speed bump, if you will. So at the moment, no, there's no way to perform calculations with the JSON message.
Yeah, I would imagine that if that was something that was be super useful, we'd also see that being requested in TradingView, right? Because then you could have that work with any third-party platform, and I could just imagine the nightmare of of testing that out to make sure that any type of calculation that somebody is doing will work correctly. And you go, oh, plus and minus works fine, but now you're using exponents and logarithmic conversions. And well, I thought it was math. I thought you could do math in the signal. Yeah, come on.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're trying to calculate prime numbers or something like that, some number crunching formula that slows it down significantly. Yeah,
That's right.
right.
Let me ask you this. Okay, this is a side topic, but I'm curious about this. Do you know there was a paper published recently, I think from Robert Eric Grant, talking about he developed a way of discovering essentially all prime numbers using some sort of mod 24 base. Uh, I guess I'm wondering, like, I kept thinking, shouldn't crypto like then disappear, like poof, because it's all based on factorization of prime numbers. Um, and I was like, oh, what if I could build an indicator that traded based on I love the woo woo stuff. I love woo woo strategies, because I'm like, okay, ever since I saw that the moon phases correlate with markets ups and downs, I'm like, hey, how about there's an edge in some crazy things. And I was like, hey, you can build something out with prime numbers. Maybe candles in a certain prime number sequence always are green or always are red, or trends lay out that way. But have you seen any like using of this prime number tool, like discovery tool, in trading at all?
Not that I can recall off the top of my head. Obviously,
Ooh.
there's many approaches that use Fibonacci sequences, but that's about as close to prime numbers as I can think of.
Right. Well, I'm trying to think of like because I'm obsessed with Egyptian pyramids and mythology and the whole thing, and so I think to myself, well, if that sort of those types of constants, also types of prime numbers work for building a pyramid, maybe it might work for me trading Tesla, which, as I say it now, seems a pretty pretty
Hey,
small-minded.
there's groups of people out there that trade on moon phases, so I'm sure there's something in there.
Excellent. This is a question. All right, someone was asking, can TradersPost still send trades to TD Ameritrade? I know there's some confusion because of the transition,
Mhm.
and TD Ameritrade is still on our brokers page. So can we clear that up?
So if your account is still supported by TD, then yes. But what has happened is TD Ameritrade has rolled out or phased out support for their API in cohorts. And you would have received an email from TD Ameritrade over the last 6 months letting you know when that service would have been complete. I think they also included a date for many users and that they needed to transition their account over to Schwab. Schwab has yet to release a vendor API to us that allows us to actually develop and integrate their technology so that we can actually support them as a broker. So the request we've had of all of our TradersPost customers is to help us knock on Schwab's door. Reach out to your broker support and let them know that you'd like to use TradersPost with your Schwab account. And if we can raise enough attention, then we should be able to get them to respond to us. But at the moment, I think they're pretty wrapped up with this transition. I think the TD Ameritrade Schwab, transition is a pretty big undertaking for their team. I imagine they're really busy. That said, that's kind of where we're at right now. We need them to respond so that we can move forward and actually integrating with them.
Here's a deep cut. You ever watched the Magic School Bus growing up?
Well, of course.
And you know the last scene after the producer segment, it's all the kids all around the world going, "We want to be on the Magic School Bus," and this is everyone's always talking. The whole world is obsessed with the Magic School Bus, and so what we need is AI bots and AI agents out there all over the social media and the voice and all that, contacting TD Ameritrade and Schwab's, knocking on the door saying TradersPost community demands this,
Yeah,
and we're still early enough that they're not going to be able to tell. They're not going to be able to tell if it's real people or not. So I think that's the plan.
I love the idea. Let's build a bot today.
All right. So this is a question I wanted to stick in here because I think we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but this is always on my mind. Is there ever a reason to use just a pure take profit at a specific level over a trailing profit or a trailing stop loss? I know my reasons, but I'm curious if you what your view on this is.
I often use both. So there are measures of very overbought territories that I look for. And if that particular alert triggers before my trailing stop, then that would be my take profit zone.
I see.
So if it just depends on the order of events. If the trade if I've measured volatility properly, then my trailing stop should be far enough away from the ATR that I don't get stopped out too early. And let's say the price moves up about halfway where I expect it to and starts to reverse, which is often a case in markets. It never ever goes exactly where you expect it to. Then my trailing stop will trigger first. If it hits the zone I'm hoping for, though, that's where I'm going to take profit. So I think it's an either or scenario for me personally, and that's how I prefer to trade. It gives me a little more upside, of course, when I take profits at my target. I don't really like it when the trailing stops out too early, but it's better to have controlled for a reversal prior to my take profit than to not at all. And in some cases, I think the big thing here is to test for that, because there are many strategies out there, particularly mean reverting strategies, where if you've implemented a trailing stop on a mean reverting strategy, you're likely to get stopped out too soon, because many mean reverting strategies are basically trying to catch a falling knife. And you really want to kind of manage your position sizes rather than focusing on like a trailing stop or something like that. because you don't know exactly where the bottom's going to be, but we know it will eventually revert to the mean. So it really just depends. You have to test your strategy over as much data as you can and see if there's a massive difference in your equity curve if you implement that trailing stop versus having a take profit in place. It just depends on your strategy. Many of my strategies are trend following, so trailing stops and take profits work much better for me.
After doing, like, I think I checked the other day, I've done something like 275 or 300 indicators and strategies for customers, not to mention the ones that I've practiced on or made for myself. And I'd say 90% of the time, converting the take profit to a trailing profit, where you're just waiting for this high water mark where you get this pullback on the highest point that your trade has gotten to. So it pulls back a certain number of ticks or percentage, and then it closes the position. Has almost always increased the profitability drastically for the trade. And I'm just trying to understand, like, the whole point of a trend following is to catch the trend and be in that trend as long as possible. And so to me, it's strange to when I see some strategies where they take 20% of the trend and then they're like, okay, that's it, I'm done for the day. I had a client the other day is like, I'm taking 3 trades that day. I'm looking to get 20 to or 30 pips on the trade for each one, and then I'm done. And I go, but this trend ran for 5 times that. He goes, yeah, but I'm not greedy. And I go, I'm not greedy. We're all greedy. That's why we're in the market. What do you mean you're not greedy? How are you going to leave all those pips on the table? All you have to do is click the setting that I put in your thing, and it will take the trade. He goes, yeah, but I'd rather not. And I couldn't understand why anybody would do that. For especially since my stops get hit all the time, and they always get hit exactly when it's now going to move to the other direction. And so, just like you were just saying, I size my position where I go, my stop is the liquidation point of this trade. And that way I never have to worry about it. And and then when I do capture a trend, it pays for the last 5 failures. So I guess maybe I do have a stop loss. It's just inbuilt within it. Fine. All right, so okay, so we answered this question before with Cam, the idea of the trade window and closing positions at the end of a session. So we'll end the Q&A with this one, where someone was asking, actually, I don't know if it's possible, Mike, for you to pull up the metrics, the balances on your side, because I can't do a share screen at the moment.
I have it up here right now. I've been waiting for this question.
So someone's asking, where can I see on TradersPost an equity curve chart based on a strategy or something similar?
Sure. Okay, so we've made some updates here recently, and I'm happy to kind of share my personal stuff here. This is my Coinbase chart, and I'll show you kind of how to get to this from any of the individual broker accounts that you have here. There's a little 3-tick drop down here, and you can hit balances, which is now available. And so this is the screen I was on before. And you can see here, this is when I detected the peak of Bitcoin and pulled everything out of my account. So there's a couple of things to clarify here on the balance chart. Basically, this is just a reflection of what your account balance was at the end of the trading day on that day. And so this isn't really a good reflection of overall portfolio performance. We do have a way to show that, but this particular chart is just your account balance. So if you're looking for an equity curve, we're still working on a different representation of that using the time-weighted return method. And these metrics below here are sort of a step in that direction. So if I can just kind of quickly outline how this really works, the balances here give you a sense of your equity curve, which is of course useful. These 2 big drawdowns that you see here are actually a withdrawal in my account, so obviously not a reflection of performance, but I do have the reflection of performance down here in these metrics, and I'll explain why this doesn't show negative returns. It actually shows positive returns in a moment. So these metrics that we've integrated into this dashboard are basic high-level portfolio analytics. It's showing you what your cumulative return was, your annualized return based on the number of days that we observe, overall Sharpe ratio, CalMAR, stability, your max drawdown, so on and so forth. If you're familiar with these metrics, then you'll be happy to see them here. We do incorporate the risk-free rate into the Sharpe ratio as well as Omega. And it's based on a 2% risk-free rate rather than like where we are right now, which is like 5%. So we're just kind of incorporating the average there. So this is super useful for you to see overall general portfolio performance from each individual broker account that you have. Over time, we can of course expand these metrics as needed. Just let us know what you're looking for. But these particular metrics for me year to date, or at least for the last year, are accurate because I've made this cash adjustment in my history. So if I go back to when I actually pulled the money out of the account, I've told TradersPost that on this day I pulled 10,000 out, and on this day I pulled 7,000 out, and those two cash adjustments make it to where my returns are reflected accurately. If you're familiar with the time-weighted return, effectively what we're doing is we're calculating the percentage change in your portfolio each day after accounting for cash withdrawals and deposits. And if we don't know that information about your cash withdrawals or deposits, then your returns are going to look much different. I'll adjust these to 0 so you can see what I mean. We'll pretend like I didn't have these cash adjustments. I'll come back and put them in. And if I refresh this chart here and look at the performance, it now appears that I've lost 76% of my account, which is not true. That's not what happened. I actually did pretty well in crypto over the last year. And the reason that's the case is because the portfolio analyzer can't tell that these are withdrawals in my account. So that's a big part of how this works. If you're interested in using this, all of these returns are in your account. We automatically calculate them every single day. And if you're going to add the cash adjustments, just make sure that you add it before the obvious difference in price. So like on this day, 3/1, I drew $10,000. So I want to put the negative $10,000 on this line right here, not on the day that the balance was lower, but on the day that the balance was higher, so that it's calculated on the correct day. And of course, if you have any questions on that, just let us know.
Excellent. So that sounds like it's where at the beginning phase where we're going to have more metrics, more analytics that will over the next months will roll out for the account. And I imagine that these are the sort of things that will work retroactively, so that people can see, let's say a new feature comes out now, then they'll be able to see some of the performance metrics or whatever that they were looking for previously. So your experience with and your history with TradersPost makes sense, because when these things roll out in the future, there's a high likelihood that you'll be able to analyze past performances in that context, as opposed to starting from scratch.
Yep, that is true for our current daily balance calculations. We've been doing that since the beginning. So as long as you've made the appropriate cash withdrawal and deposit corrections, then your metrics will show up accurately in your account. There are, strange use cases that occur sometimes, and it's almost always because of a series of cash withdrawals or deposits. So, if you run into a weird scenario where you're seeing strange return metrics that don't seem to line up with your actual performance, feel free to reach out. But they should be pretty fringe cases. The vast majority of accounts out there, I think, are fairly accurate. The only area where I think it gets really tricky is in futures accounts, because you have the ability for effectively leveraged losses that cause the performance to look like it's been so negative for so long that you no longer see positive results anymore.
Right.
So futures accounts can get tricky.
Makes sense. All right. Perfect. Okay, so we'll leave it there, except for one thing. As Mike was just saying, these new features that are rolling out for TradersPost is part of a symbiotic process where we take your feedback, we hear what you're saying, we hear what might make you better, and we try to develop them and implement them within the platform. And along the same lines, we want to make sure that the content we put out is also useful to you as well as the scripts that we put out. And so for that, I'm going to make a call. I'm going to make a call to find out for anyone to post inside of the comments on the YouTube video, if there's any indicators that you generally use. What are the indicators that you find to be, you have to use them when you're developing any type of strategies? I get it. There's the normal ones, the MACDs, the OBVs, the RSIs. I get that. But are there any maybe proprietary scripts or obscure ones, or maybe ones that you don't hear often, or that you just really swear by, that you think would be very useful for us to cover? Who knows? Maybe we'll make, I guarantee you we'll make content surrounding that to show you how you can integrate that into TradersPost in either simple or complex ways. But we want to hear from you in order to be able to do that. So please leave a message in the comments, and we'll check it out. In fact, from now on, I know I've been telling people to post messages in Discord and send us the support tickets if they have any questions for office hours, which we do appreciate. But just a reminder, you guys can also post on any office hours video, and we go back and we'll take a look at all the comments. We'll collate all the different questions and make sure that we can cover them in the future. So if you want to leave a message even on past office hours videos, we'll be happy to take a look at them. Is there?
It looks like Jeff actually left a comment here saying that one indicator he'd like us to take a look at are higher highs, higher lows, and lower highs, and the zigzag indicator. So that could be something we could showcase. Typically with zigzag or pivots, they're sort of rule-based approaches that are coupled with other indicators. So we might have to get creative on that one. But if you've got more detail there, Jeff, on how you're using those indicators and how we might be able to help you construct a strategy, I think we're open for it.
Ooh, zigzag is one I've dealt with so much. I have my own custom versions that don't have the necessary the delay. You can still get signals pretty quickly, and then there's the basis for that. Also, you get all these break of structure, change of structure that people are used to in ICT or smart money concepts.
Okay.
And so I really like that one, and I'll put it on the docket.
Let's add it to the library.
Excellent. So we'll leave it there for today. Mother's Day is coming up, so make sure you guys go get flowers, do whatever you need to do to make sure that your mother is happy. I'm going to try to make sure that I don't forget my wife's birthday, but that is not likely to happen because crypto is a 24/7 market, and I'm likely to be paying attention to that. But that's the life of a retail trader. I love my wife as much as I love the charts, and I'm sure every one of you guys feel the exact same. I'll leave it there. Wish you a great weekend, Mike, and thank you everyone for helping us make TradersPost the best automated trading platform that it can possibly be.
Likewise,
have a great
Tom.
weekend.
Cheers, everyone.